Spoiler alert. Our story begins on the remote island of St. Hubert. Here, InGen, a billion-dollar bioengineering company, operates a secret lab dedicated to designing and altering new kinds of dinosaurs. Cloning is no longer enough, as visitors are tired of seeing the same species over and over at the zoo. On this particular day, a scientist takes the last bite of his snack bar before entering the containment area. This trivial act of throwing the wrapper turns into something serious when it gets sucked into a ventilation system, causing a system failure. Security cameras show guards firing their weapons at something unseen. Panic sets in as everyone tries to escape the containment area. The unlucky scientist who dropped the wrapper is trapped inside. His colleague tries to unlock the door, but she freezes. Behind him is a mutated Tyrannosaurus Rex, bigger and stronger. It is called the Distortus Rex, or D-Rex. The beast seizes him and vanishes into the smoke. InGen decides to shut down the lab completely, and the island is declared off-limits to the world after the incident. 17 years later, Martin Krebs, an executive from Parker Genix, approaches Zora Bennett, a former covert operative, with a highly classified mission. The task concerns the dinosaurs still roaming the abandoned island. Since the island is off-limits, Zora rejects the offer at first, but the promise of a large payout convinces her to join. Next, Martin visits Dr. Henry Loomis, a paleontologist. The goal is to retrieve biomaterial samples from 3 of the largest remaining prehistoric creatures, which may hold the key to a new treatment for heart disease and prolong human life. Martin invites him to the team as well. Henry declines, insisting the army should handle such a dangerous job. But Martin insists the mission must stay off the record. He then tempts Henry by saying this is his chance to see dinosaurs in their natural habitat and not in a zoo. Temptation wins, and Henry agrees. Zora then introduces them to her old friend, Duncan Kincaid, in Suriname to help with the mission. Duncan demands more money than they had agreed upon over the phone. Martin is irritated that both Zora and Duncan have managed to get more money out of him in advance, but he reluctantly agrees, knowing the mission's success will bring him enormous profits in the future. After the negotiation, Duncan introduces his own team: boat driver Leclerc, mercenary Nina, and security chief Bobby Atwater. With the group assembled, the expedition team sets sail for the Forbidden Island. Far away, Ruben Delgado sails with his family across the Atlantic, bound for Cape Town. His daughters, Isabella and Teresa, are with him, as well as Teresa's boyfriend, Xavier. Ruben asks Xavier, who has just woken up, to take the wheel so he can rest as well. But Xavier, being lazy, says he's extremely tired and he might fall asleep at the wheel. Teresa volunteers, but Ruben insists he'll manage. When Xavier goes below deck, Teresa spots giant fins circling the ocean nearby. Suddenly, the vessel jolts. Ruben checks but sees nothing. Another massive hit flips the boat, and Teresa finally spots the culprit, the Mosasaurus. Everyone is thrown into the water. Xavier is trapped inside the cabin, and Ruben swims hastily to check on him. When he finds him, he asks Xavier to grab the emergency bag. The sisters cry out for their father in terror. Ruben breaks through the surface, gasping for air, but Xavier does not appear. Then, suddenly, Xavier explodes out of the water, clutching the bag. The towering jaws of the Mosasaurus surge behind him. He barely makes it back to the wreckage before the enormous beast retreats into the deep. Back on Duncan's boat, Dr. Henry explains how they will extract blood from the 3 largest dinosaurs on the island using a specially designed sample collector. They only need to shoot the dinosaurs and wait for the device to eject after gathering the samples. The next morning, Duncan wakes Leclerc. Just as he is about to leave the room, he hears a distress signal. It's from the Delgado family. When he informs the rest of the team, Bobby and Martin suggest focusing on the mission since they are only 2 miles away from the island. But Duncan and Zora disagree. Duncan orders Leclerc to change course toward the stranded family. Hours later, Ruben notices Duncan's boat and fires his flare gun to catch their attention. Once they are rescued, he warns the team about the Mosasaurus nearby. Zora reveals that it happens to be one of the creatures they intend to sample, which makes Martin excited. When Teresa asks what they are doing there, the team tries to stay discreet, claiming they are only there to collect important items. Their vague answers raise suspicion, and Reuben requests that his family be taken to the nearest port. Suddenly, the boat shudders violently. The Mosasaurus has returned. It sees large boats as rivals and attacks them on sight. Zora charges outside, weapon in hand, but Dr. Henry warns her they need at least 10 meters of distance for the device to pierce its thick hide. Nina climbs up to report the distance, but before they can act, the Mosasaurus dives beneath the surface. The creature bursts upward, water crashing over the deck. Startled, Zora accidentally pulls the trigger. The device splashes harmlessly into the water. Dr. Henry rushes to grab another one, and as he scrambles to reload, the beast slams into the ship once more, knocking Zora off balance. Dr. Henry pulls her back before she becomes another item on the Mosasaurus's menu. Regaining her composure, Zora takes aim once more. This time, the shot lands. The device starts filling up before ejecting. Dr. Henry reaches out and snatches it. One sample down, 2 to go. Henry insists the samples should be shared openly so the world can produce cheap medicine, not just a single company holding power. But Zora argues that she won't get paid if they take that route, and she needs the money. Just then, Teresa spots the giant fins circling the ocean again and warns everyone. Dr. Henry immediately recognizes them. They are Spinosaurus, and they are closing in on the boat. To his amazement, they seem to be working together with the Mosasaurus, ruling the seas together. Bobby eagerly rushes out and starts shooting at them. Provoked, the Spinosaurus lashes out and snatches Bobby. The Mosasaurus joins the action and slams into the ship, nearly capsizing it. The crew stumbles, fighting to stay on their feet as the Spinosaurus tries to catch them. Isabella screams as she teeters on the edge. Her father throws himself, pulling her away from the beast's jaws. In the process, he breaks his leg. The ship regains some stability, and Duncan rushes straight toward the island. Reuben tells Teresa to send another distress call with their coordinates, but Martin rushes in to stop her. Exposure would ruin his company, and he cannot allow it. During the struggle, Teresa stumbles and nearly falls overboard. She pleads for Martin to save her, but Martin hesitates, then chooses to let her fall. Xavier spots her falling and dives after her without hesitation. At the same time, Reuben tells Isabella they must jump before the boat crashes. Though terrified, she obeys her father. The Mosasaurus returns, ramming the boat and pushing it toward the rocky cliffs in a final attempt to sink it. The others leap into the shallow part of the water as well. Duncan cheers when the Mosasaurus finally retreats, but it's already too late to stop the boat. Duncan braces himself for the inevitable crash. The group scrambles toward the shore. Nina won't abandon the luggage even though she struggles to move it. Out of nowhere, a Spinosaurus lunges and drags her away. The others can do nothing but watch her vanish. After barely surviving another attack, the Delgado family manages to reunite. Isabella is shaken to the core and refuses to speak to anyone. The endless jungle before them offers no comfort, and Xavier grimly jokes that this will be his beautiful deathbed. Reuben, however, refuses to give in to despair. He tells them to keep moving forward. As the team gathers their supplies, Martin finally confesses the island's dark past and why it was sealed off. The others react angrily to his secrecy, but Zora urges them to remain calm and focus on the mission. She also reveals that she has already hired a rescue helicopter team that will come to check on them if their radio signal goes dead. So they have to hurry up. On the way to Dr. Henry's chosen location, Martin pauses to refill his water. There, he finds a dog tag on the river stream. Looking up, he spots the wreck of a helicopter, its pilot's decayed body still gripping a pistol. He uses a stick to pry the weapon free and takes it. Meanwhile, Isabella finds a small plant-eating dinosaur while picking up a stick. Teresa quickly shoos it away. Reuben also thanks Xavier for not hesitating to save his daughter when she fell off the boat. Xavier remains nonchalant. Later, the group stops to rest. Isabella spots the same little dinosaur again and shares some candy with it. She also lets it rest by her side. At the same time, Xavier steps away to relieve himself. Two velociraptors quietly stalk him from behind, but suddenly a mutodon appears, grabbing one of them while the other flees into the jungle. Zora's team finally arrives at the location, but instead of a giant dinosaur, all that greets them is a sea of tall grass swaying in the wind. Zora moves carefully. Something is out there. The grass trembles. Suddenly, a massive vine-like form whips into view. But it isn't a vine. It's the tail of a Titanosaurus. Another appears, shaking the earth with its weight. Dr. Henry rushes forward, unable to contain his wonder. Zora arrives close behind. They start loading the gun, while the two Titanosaurs lean against one another in a slow, gentle embrace. Then more appear, their towering bodies blotting out the horizon. The team can only stare breathless at the sheer scale of the creatures. The device ejects, and Duncan snatches it this time. In the silence that follows, Zora pulls her focus on their last target. With her newfound friend, Isabella finally breaks her silence. She names the little dinosaur Dolores. The family follows the old thermal pipes until they reach a massive container. Teresa moves in to check, but a deep, rumbling growl freezes her on the spot. She turns, only to see a T-Rex, resting in the bushes, its breath rattling the ground. Terrified, she quickly slips into the container and discovers an inflatable raft. She drags the heavy load outside and, following the instructions, she inflates it on land. But the sharp hissing noise stirs the beast awake. Teresa quietly paddles to the other side as the monster lowers its head to drink. But the bright yellow raft catches its attention. With an enraged roar, it charges after them, even diving beneath the surface. It then slams into the raft, flipping it upside down. Everyone is thrown into chaos. Ruben, Teresa, and Xavier scramble to hide among the rocks. Isabella, however, is trapped beneath the overturned raft. The T-Rex lunges, clamping its teeth onto the raft, but its puncture-resistant design refuses to tear. Frustration fuels the beast as it struggles to damage the raft. At last, Isabella slips free, gasping for dear life as she scrambles to her family. She reaches them just in time as the annoyed T-Rex roars and storms away. The Delgado family survives once again. At last, Zora's team reaches the site of their final mission. Their next target, a flying predator, is too dangerous, so Dr. Henry proposes grabbing its egg instead. Nervous but hungry for an adventure, he rappels down clumsily toward the nest. Luckily, the mother is not there. Dr. Henry once again insists to Zora that these samples must remain open source, free from corporate patents. But before she can respond, the sky erupts with a thunderous screech. The mother has returned, and she is not happy to see them touching her eggs. Leclerc manages to distract the beast, but seeing him as an easier prey, the giant leaves her nest and targets him instead. In the chaos, Dr. Henry is yanked out of the ruins along with the sample. Zora seizes the rope just in time, keeping him from falling. Above, Duncan and Martin desperately reel Leclerc in, but then a nightmare beak snaps him up. Shocked, they abandon the rope, bolting down a tunnel and into a staircase below. Dr. Henry swings toward the sample, but the rope snaps as soon as he activates the release. He plummets. The fall is brutal, but against all odds, he survives. The team gathers, battered but alive, with all three samples finally in hand. Now, the only thing left is to reach the lab and wait for rescue. On the way to the lab, Zora spots fresh footprints. She calls out for the Delgado family. Moments later, the two groups finally reunite, but Teresa immediately confronts Martin. He lifts the gun he found, his voice hard as he orders everyone to calm down and hand over the briefcase. He claims that Teresa has gone mad and that they must move forward from the boat incident. Their argument halts as the abandoned lab suddenly blazes with light. The glow cuts through the dark, drawing the mutodons in. Chaos erupts. The Delgados sprint inside, but one of the beasts rips the roof away with its monstrous strength. Its head plunges inside, jaws snapping. Isabella ducks for cover, using her jacket to shield herself. the Mutodon fixes its gaze on her, but only sees its own reflection staring back. Reuben hurls debris across the room. The sound lures the monster away, giving Isabella the chance to slip free. That's when Reuben notices water pouring under the underground tunnel. The Mutodon lunges at their hiding spot, only to find it empty. The family has already slipped into the underground tunnel. Outside, Zora and Martin crawl beneath a car for cover. Martin panics and fires at the Mutodon, his shots clumsy and wild. The beast snarls, snatching his briefcase and dragging him out. He crashes to the ground, but strangely, the Mutodon doesn't notice him. His eyes fall on the car keys. Without hesitation, Martin jumps in and drives away. Exposed, Zora dashes into a new hiding spot. The Mutodon pauses, tilting its head as faint chatter emerges from the tunnel below. With a guttural snarl, it rips the cover away and squeezes inside. Zora wastes no time. She slips in right behind it. Meanwhile, the rescue helicopter arrives. Dr. Henry bursts from his hiding spot, waving his arms and shouting. Spotting a flare box, he grabs it and fires. The signal works. The helicopter circles back toward him. But just as it nears the landing zone, the ground shakes with a deafening roar. From the smoke, the massive D-Rex emerges and seizes the helicopter midair, crushing it in its jaws. With terrifying strength, the beast hurls the wreckage aside like a toy, roaring in rage. Duncan stands frozen, watching their only hope burn. From beneath the tunnel, he hears the Delgados calling for help. He approaches them and tells them to stay hidden. Dr. Henry rushes over, and together they descend into the tunnel. With the helicopter gone, Duncan reveals his discovery earlier. A map showing a single route that stretches to the sea, to a dock with a boat that could save them all. Moments later, Zora joins them. She barely steadies herself before the Mutodon erupts from the darkness. Her gunfire rips through the beast. Above ground, Martin's path collides with another dinosaur. He slams the car into gear, tearing downhill, unknowingly racing toward the same dock. While everyone fights to squeeze past the gate bars, Isabella slips through with ease and approaches the control panel. But then, a thunderous roar shakes the area. The D-Rex has found them. Panic erupts. Everyone yells, trying desperately to distract it while Isabella opens the gate. Then, out of nowhere, Martin's headlights flare across the darkness. The beast turns. With one furious strike, the D-Rex seizes him in its jaws and devours him whole. The briefcase tumbles from his grasp, landing at Zora's feet. Without hesitation, she snatches it and bolts. The D-Rex charges after her, but its rage is soon diverted. The dock erupts with blaring alarms and flashing lights. Realizing how the lights attract the D-Rex's attention, Duncan lights a flare and yells with all his strength to buy them time. The D-Rex charges after him into the swamp. The group can only watch as the glow of his flare fades to nothing. Soon, the D-Rex comes back, but they are too far for it to reach, so it gives up and leaves. Shortly after, a flare bursts into the sky. The group cheers, realizing Duncan is alive. They quickly rush to get him. As the sun rises, Zora asks Dr. Henry who should get the samples, but he lets her decide. Zora answers firmly, they will share it with the world. The doctor nods in quiet approval.